Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey was born in Talbot County, Maryland. Douglass's mother was Harriet Bailey, whom he was separated from at birth. Harriet was sold to another slave owner on another plantation. Harriet would have to walk 12 miles to see Frederick Douglass, then walk back 12 miles the same day in order to be in the fields the next day. Harriet Bailey died when Frederick was 8 years old. In 1826, Frederick Douglass was sent to live with the Hugh Old family. Sophia Old, the wife of Hugh, starts to teach Frederick how to read. Teaching a Negro how to read was forbidden in some states. Hugh discovers his wife teaching Douglass how to read and becomes angry. Old believes if a Negro learns how to read, he will become unhappy about his or her condition and will want freedom. Lessons are put to an end, but Douglass will learn how to read from the white children in the neighborhood. 1834, Douglass is hired out to Edward Covey, who tries to break Douglass's spirits, but is not successful. From 1836 to 1838, Douglass works in the Baltimore shipyard as a caulker. He meets a freed Negro woman named Anna Murray. In 1838, using borrowed papers from a free Negro sailor, Douglass escapes from slavery. He marries Anna Murray in New York City. By 1841, Douglass has become a licensed preacher for the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Douglass speaks at an anti-slave meeting in New Bedford, Massachusetts, when he meets William Lloyd Garrison. Garrison encourages Douglass to become a speaker in the American Anti-Slave Society. Douglass travels to the east and midwest part of our country speaking for the rights of the Negro. Douglass was attending an anti-slave meeting in Pendleton, Indiana in 1843 when he was almost beaten by a mob. In the scuffle, Douglass's hand is broken. He never regains full use of his right hand. In 1845, Douglass publishes the first of 3 autobiographies, The Narrative of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. In the book, he reveals he was a runaway slave. He perhaps told too much about himself and has to run away to England to avoid capture. By 1846, Frederick Douglass was a legally free man. His slave owner, Hugh Old, was paid a sum of money by Douglass's British supporters. By 1847, Douglass starts publishing the North Star newspaper. Mr. Douglass in 1848 hires Julia Griffiths, a young white woman from England, to teach his wife and children how to read. This leads to a scandal. The Liberal Party nominated Frederick Douglass for vice president in 1852. Douglass makes a speech called "What to a Slave is the 4th of July?" By 1852, Griffith moves back to England to end the controversy. Douglass then writes his second autobiography, My Bondage, My Freedom. Otel Aisling, a woman from Germany, starts working for Mr. Douglass in his office. Ms. Aisling worked for the Douglass family for more than 22 years. October 16, 1859, John Brown raids Harper's Ferry. It was an act against the United States, and Frederick Douglass was seen as an ally of John Brown. Mr. Douglass had to leave the country and go to England until his name was cleared. Mr. Douglass returned to the country and he helped start the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. The 54th Massachusetts Regiment was the second all-black regiment in the United States Army during the Civil War. 2 of the soldiers were in this unit with Mr. Douglass's own son. In 1874, Mr. Douglass is appointed president of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. In his time in Washington, he was appointed Recorder of Deeds for Washington, D.C., Marshal for the District of Columbia. He was also appointed ambassador to Haiti. In 1877, Mr. Douglass paid $6,700 for a house in Washington, D.C. In today's money, that would be $1.2 million. Mr. Douglass would greet many people in his house. The home was enlarged to accommodate his family and his guests. Mr. Douglass was perhaps one of the richest black men in America. He employed a butler, a maid, and a coachman. The house was called Cedar Hill. Anna Douglass dies in 1882, and in 1884, Mr. Douglass marries Helen Pitts. Mr. Douglass liked to play checkers and croquet. He also enjoyed a good physical game, and he liked to sing. He very seldom used bad language or used hard liquor. Mr. Douglass died February 20th, 1895 from a massive heart attack at the age of 77. Frederick Douglass's funeral was one of the largest in Washington, D.C. history. You can visit the Frederick Douglass house. You'll be able to see the original furniture and other artifacts. A National Park ranger will walk you through the house. On the first floor, you will hear the history of Mr. Douglass's living room, library, dining room, and kitchen. Upstairs, you will see bedrooms and other important places.